Hello, welcome to GusmcDoll Strategy and Tactics, and thank you to our subscribers. In this series we play through the 16 operations of the German Grand Campaign in Close Combat 3, the Russian Front. Please remember to subscribe, comment and like the video. And if you want to show your support with a donation, the links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. In the last battle, we completed the Moscow campaign, and we now commence the Izyum campaign. Let's review the campaign brief. The successful Russian counter-offensive in the winter of 1941-1942 had not only revived the hopes of the Russian forces, but also emboldened a previously chastened Stavka. Stalin believed that the initiative had passed to the Russian army and prepared for more offensives in the spring. The first of these was intended to free Kharkiv and the Donets River Basin, an important industrial area. The Izyum bridgehead was to be the jumping-off point for the southern pincer of an encircling offensive that would link with a smaller thrust from north of Kharkiv. This grand scheme would not only liberate Kharkiv, but also trap a large number of German and Romanian forces. Ironically, the German staff had also decided to launch their spring offensive in the south and had moved several panzer divisions to the area in preparation for this. In the German estimation, only the abysmal Russian winter and poor logistics had caused the debacles in the winter. Now that warm weather was returning, the Wehrmacht could resume its offensive thrusts, this time with a focus on the oil-rich Caucasus. The Russians struck first, bursting out of the Izyum bridgehead and heading west as fast as their tanks could drive. But enthusiasm was no substitute for experience in the new doctrine of armoured warfare. After the German generals had recovered from their initial surprise, they quickly reorganised their defences. First, the unsupported Russian armoured spearheads were blunted, and then the panzer divisions that had been poised to launch their own offensive were diverted and used to cut off the bulk of the Russian forces that had penetrated the front lines. The result was another disastrous encirclement of Russian forces, including the loss of hundreds of the new T-34 tanks. These forces would be sorely missed in the following months, as the German army unleashed its second summer offensive and drove to Stalingrad. It is day 1 of 5 on Operation 4 of 16. Operational Briefing: German Second Battle of Kharkov, May 10, 1942. The Kampf group you now command is part of the 6th Army. Your mission is to spearhead the advance through the Caucasus Mountains, an operation codenamed Fridericus. Reconnaissance reports indicated a heavy concentration of Soviet forces directly in front of you. It's believed these forces will make a spoiling attack to stop your push to the Bolshevists' oil fields. When the attack comes, it must be countered vigorously and immediately. Expect the enemy to use the rough terrain to seek infiltration routes and then attack at several points along your front. The weather should remain fair. Reinforcements and replacements will be made available to you if you need them. Battle Briefing: Second Battle of Kharkiv, Prelude to Disaster. Intelligence reports the Bolshevists are massing for an attack. Your objective is to prevent the enemy from rolling over your forces. If you are forced to withdraw, do so before your force is decimated. Your command is attached to the 6th Army. You'll be able to assemble a force with some anti-tank firepower. A deep ravine running north and south splits the sector. It will slow but probably not stop enemy tanks from advancing. Expect the enemy to use the gullies leading to the ravine as avenues of attack. You possess several excellent positions for sighting your anti-tank weapons west of the ravine. The terrain yields many good spots to ambush tanks or vehicles with anti-tank infantry. The steep slopes and tracts of forest limit fields of fire across the ravine. Draw the enemy's tanks and vehicles across the ravine, then destroy them. If you can't stop the enemy, make them pay dearly for their advance. We start the operation with the same forces from the last battle. The Kampf group consists of von McDowell, Command Sonderkraftfahrzeug 250-10, Light Infantry Schützen 1941, another squad of Light Infantry Schützen 1941, Machine Gun Infantry Maschinengewehr 34 Early War, Medium Tank Panzer 3H, Medium Tank Panzer 4D, Heavy Anti-Tank Gun 8.8 cm Flak 36, Another heavy anti-tank gun 8.8 cm. Anti-tank carrier Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251x10 with a 3.7 cm pack. Another anti-tank carrier. And a medium mortar 8 cm Granatwerfer. After surviving the retreat over the winter of 41-42, the Kampfgruppe left the front lines and spent spring 1942 training for the coming offensive. Both light infantry squads retrained as shock troops. Sturmgrenadier 1942. Use heavy infantry where you need maximum infantry firepower. Position them to lead frontal or flanking assaults on enemy strongpoints, fight house to house, make counterattacks, or anchor your defence. The team has a short-range anti-tank capability. The team is equipped with 3 MP40s, 1 German STV-40, 1 Heftholladung, a form of explosive, 1 explosives, 2 German PPS 41Gs, 1 Assault Machine Gun 34, 14 hand grenades, and 6 smoke grenades. The machine gun infantry gave up their MG34 and were issued with the new MG42. Machine gun infantry, Maschinengewehr 42. Position machine gun teams with a clear field of fire. Use them to suppress the enemy when you attack, defend key positions, or ambush enemy infantry and light vehicles. Move these teams only when necessary. The team is equipped with 1 MP40, 1 Mauser rifle, 1 MG42, 1 Walther P38 pistol, 5 hand grenades, and 1 smoke grenade. The key weapon being the MG42. Finally, while von McDowell started 1941 as a platoon commander, his forces are now the size of a company Kampfgruppe. He has therefore appointed a platoon commander for the infantry. Commander. Commanders provide leadership on the battlefield. Position commanders so their command radius encompasses the teams you want controlled. Use commanders to lead assaults and anchor defensive positions. The commander is equipped with 1 MP40, 2 hand grenades, and 1 smoke grenade. And that is Kampfgruppe McDowell. Let's examine the terrain and develop a plan. North is to the top of the map. A deep ravine running north and south splits the sector. It will slow but probably not stop enemy tanks from advancing. The ravine has woods either side, is fed by gullies running east and west, and surrounded by small hills. I have marked 6 areas moving west to east. Number 1, Hill 169. A ready-made defensive position, this hill overlooks the adjacent gullies, with trenches around the base and a dug-in gun position at the top. The hill has good fields of fire out to the tree line. Strongpoint Helga is to the north. Number 2, the east-west gully. This is an excellent concealed approach for crawling infantry all the way from the ravine to Hill 169. Number 3, the southern hills and Strongpoint Emily. Again, ready-made defensive positions with trenches and fields of fire out to the woods. Towards the ravine is Strongpoint Inga. Number 4, the ravine. A minor obstacle to vehicle movement, the ravine is a large natural trench and offers excellent concealed approaches for infantry. The steep slopes and tracts of forest limit fields of fire across the ravine. Strongpoint Marta overlooks a section of the ravine. Number 5, the gullies east of the ravine. Protected by trees either side, these gullies make great concealed approaches from the ravine to and from the hill. Number 6, Hill 178. Another ready-made defensive position with trenches. The far side of the hill would make a good location for an indirect fire asset, such as a mortar. Key terrain is the high ground. From here, a defender can dominate the areas of open ground in between. Decisive terrain is the ravine. which offers concealed approaches and forming up points. Whoever controls the ravine controls movement in this sector. Likely avenues of approach are through the gullies to the open ground beyond. The briefing says to expect the enemy to use the gullies leading to the ravine as avenues of attack. One option for the Russians is to attack in the south. They would move down the southern gully and through the woods to the ravine. Then they would form up along the ravine in front of strongpoint Inga. Inga is screened from strongpoint Emily by trees and would be the Russian immediate objective. The subsequent objective would be strongpoint Emily. Using this as a base of fire, the Russians could then turn their attention to Hill 169. The advantage of this approach is that it breaks the battle into small, manageable chunks. However, the attack on strongpoint Emily is vulnerable to flanking fire from Hill 169. Another option for the Russians is to attack in the north against Hill 169. They would move down the northern gully to the ravine, then form up along the ravine wall. Under cover of artillery, tanks and infantry would then assault forward and use firepower to suppress the Germans at strongpoint Marta. Once Hill 169 was taken, they could swing south to take strongpoint Emily. This approach would allow the Russians to take two objectives before experiencing flanking fire from the south. But the Russians would be in the open for the final assault and reliant on strong fire support to suppress any remaining defenders. The briefing tells us of several excellent positions for sighting your anti-tank weapons west of the ravine. The terrain yields many good spots to ambush tanks or vehicles with anti-tank infantry. The steep slopes and tracts of forest limit fields of fire across the ravine. Draw the enemy's tanks and vehicles across the ravine, then destroy them. So the first course of action for the Germans is to use strongpoint Marta and strongpoint Inga for their intended purposes, preventing the Russians from using the ravine. The 8.8cm guns would be sighted to fire down the gullies, protected by infantry with machine guns and indirect fire from the mortar to the rear. Meanwhile, the tanks and half-tracks would form an armoured reserve to counterattack once the initial Russian assault was defeated. However, this plan has a couple of problems. First, neither position can offer the other mutual support and both are isolated. Second, both positions rely on a single gun for their defence. What happens if that gun is knocked out by enemy mortar or tank fire? The second German course of action is to consolidate on a single defensive position, in this case Hill 169. The position will reflect World War II German defensive doctrine. Anti-tank guns with good fields of fire, screened by entrenched infantry out in front. Indirect fire support to the rear. Tanks in hull-down positions protecting the flanks. And a mobile counter-attack force ready to pounce once the enemy attack culminates. Yes, this invites the risk of encirclement, but all elements can provide mutual support to the others, and the position as a whole can dominate the gully to the south and fire on or counterattack the hills around strongpoint Emily. It may also be necessary to defend so-called key terrain, Schlüsselgeland, by every means, including the risk of encirclement. In such a situation, the defender hopes to deny the enemy control over the area, pin strong forces, and have favourable opportunities for launching counterattacks. The nightmare of the retreat from Moscow is behind us. Everyone was disappointed that the war will not be over by Christmas as promised. But once the front stabilised, the Kampfgruppe was withdrawn for rest and recuperation. After a period of much-needed leave, they started training for a big spring offensive in the south. Gradually, the mood lifted, and the soldiers started smiling again and complaining. The Kampfgruppe was assigned to the 6th Army and moved into preparatory positions. Then word came down. The Russians were attacking first. I have now moved my troops into position and will execute the plan in real time. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the various courses of action and if you have identified a viable alternative. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And so we begin. The Kampfgruppe has moved up to Hill 169, a position on the front line overlooking a big ravine. This is the assembly area for the big offensive. To the southwest is Strongpoint Emily. To the south, Strongpoint Inga. East of the ravine are gully entrances. To the northeast, Hill 178. East of the Kampf Group is Strongpoint Marta. And north is Strongpoint Helga. Von McDowell has just received word the Russians are attacking first. He quickly checks the defensive layout. Schutzmann's 8.8 cm can see to Strongpoint Helga and otherwise to the edge of the woods. A keyhole shot to Strongpoint Inga and covering the right flank. Baumann's 8.8 cm gun can see out to the edge of the woods. To Strongpoint Marta and covering the right flank. Gottberg's Panzer IV-D is hull down and can cover the left flank and out to the edge of the woods. Zeltmann's Panzer III-H can cover the left flank. Schellenberg's half-track can cover the left flank around Strongpoint Helga with some good keyhole shots. As can von McDowell's half-track. Platoon Commander Schadel is in trenches at the base of Hill 169. Altrich's section to his left. Kleese's section to his right. Waldmann's MG42 can cover Strongpoint Helga and out to the edge of the woods. And even the right flank. Achtung, Panzer! Gottberg targets a T-34 to the north. Hit and immobilized. Another T-34. Schellenberg has the shot. Gottberg's Panzer IV-D is hit and immobilized. Gross-Krambach is a casualty. No line of fire for the 8.8 cm guns. A tense exchange of fire. Both T-34 are in the gully. The Russian crew abandoned the T-34. A fairly useless smoke round to the rear. The second T-34 is on the move. They can hear it, but no one can see it. Or shoot it. Schellenberg has the shot. Hit, no effect. Another hit, no effect. Achtung Panzer. KV-1S. Moving towards strongpoint Helga. No one has the shot. Troops in the open to the south. Schickner's half-track targets them with gun and machine gun fire. Light infantry. The mortar opens a fire mission. The Russian infantry take casualties. The KV-1S is struggling to climb the steep slopes of the ravine. No one has the shot. Schickner's half-track receives enemy mortar fire and wisely withdraws. Mein Gott, another KV-1S. Also moving towards strongpoint Helga. And the T-34. Are we being overrun? The Russians have found the weak spot in the German defences and take strongpoint Helga. Gottberg lines up the first KV-1S. No shot. The Russians are finally learning to use their tanks effectively, concentrating mass to overrun their enemy. Achtung Panzer! Another T-34 to the southeast. Spotted, but no line of fire. The Russians are going for encirclement. Mortar rounds start to land on Hill 169. The T-34 pushes across the gully. It is about to roll up the German left flank, with two KV-1S in support. Gottberg has the shot. And Zeltman. Hit and damaged. The 8.8cm gun also has the shot. Hit and destroyed. The 8.8cm shifts fire to the KV-1S. The T-34 to the south pushes forward on the German right flank. Classic Russian double envelopment. Mortar fire, and von McDowell repositions the half-track. Schickner also moves. The KV-1S now crosses the gully into the German left flank. Baumann targets the T-34 on the right flank. It fires and misses. Schutzmann targets the KV-1S. Hit! The KV-1S is immobilized. Oh no! The KV-1S hits Baumann's 8.8cm gun crew. Baumann orders the remaining crew to traverse the gun. The KV-1S crew surrender. Baumann now orders the crew to swivel back and target the T-34. No shot. The Russian tank is firing at the half-tracks. Hit! Baumann's crew knock out the T-34. The crew bail out. More incoming mortar fire. The half-tracks disperse. The second KV-1S crosses the gully. No one has the shot. Surrendered Russian tank crews cross Hill 169. Baumann's crew has recovered. Only Habenicht remains unconscious and severely wounded. The KV-1S is back on the move. It is just meters from Altrichter's squad. Schutzmann's 8.8cm gun has the shot. Fires and misses. Hit, no effect. Hit and destroyed. Alfrichter's squad attacks the crew as they bail. Anti-tank rifle squad in the woods near strongpoint Marta. Firing on Schutzmann. The KV-1S crew surrender. Gottberg's Panzer IV-D cannot move. Zeltmann in the Panzer III-H now plans a probe into the Russian lines. The mortar shifts fire to lay a smokescreen for the Panzer. Schutzmann's 8.8cm gun eliminates the anti-tank rifle squad. The intent behind the mortar smokescreen is to prevent line of sight and flanking fire along the gullies. Zeltmann's Panzer III-H retakes strongpoint Helga. The smokescreen is thickened as the Panzer crosses the first gully. The mortar runs out of smoke. The infantry will shortly advance to retake strongpoint Marta. But first, the half-tracks advance to a support by fire position. Zeltmann's Panzer III-H has cleared the first gully. Schickner's half-track will clear to the south, near the knocked-out T-34 and Russian infantry. So far, the Germans have knocked out a T-34, another T-34, a KV-1S, another KV-1S, and a third T-34. The infantry now advanced towards Strongpoint Marta.
Мы пропали! Truppe umgruppiert.
Zeltmann's Panzer 3H clears the second gully. Von McDowell repositions.
Stellung eingenommen.
Schickner's half-track reaches the hill to the south without opposition, but he attracts enemy mortar fire and quickly plots a course forward.
Gebiet gesichert. Truppe umgruppiert.
Zeltmann has cleared the gully entrance and moves to hill 178.
Противник предложил прекращение огня. Stellungswechsel ausgeführt.
The infantry reached the tree line without seeing Russians.
Stellung eingenommen.
Schickner spots and opens up on Russians in the ravine.
Мы пропали! Truppe umgruppiert.
Decisive victory. The battle ended because the Russians fled the battlefield. The Germans gained control of the area and the operation is over. The operation ended because the Russians routed. You, Herr von McDowell, gained 2 campaign points. Your group commander urges you on to more and greater victories. German losses were 2 wounded and 1 tank damaged. Russian losses were 7 killed, 10 wounded, 10 prisoners, 3 tanks destroyed and 2 tanks captured. The Operation Debrief tells the same story. The Campaign Debrief records a major victory for the Second Battle of Kharkov. Since Barbarossa, German losses in the campaign are 8 killed, 17 wounded, 1 prisoner, 1 tank destroyed and 3 tanks damaged. Russian losses are 80 killed, 60 wounded, 38 prisoners, 13 tanks destroyed, 6 tanks captured and 2 heavy mortars destroyed. Let's examine the Kampfgruppe. Obergefreiter Altrichter is awarded the War Merit Badge. Kanonier Olberg and Kanonier Ohlmeier are each awarded an Assault Badge. Kanoniers Olberg and Ohlmeier are credited with a tank each. Obergefreiter Baumann and Gefreiter Stoller in the other gun share credit for one tank. And Gefreiter Schickner's half-track and Gefreiter Fürstenberg's mortar did some damage to the Russian infantry. There is an interesting mix between those soldiers from Barbarossa and those who joined later. Morale and experience mostly up across the Kampfgruppe. Sadly, recently promoted Gefreiter Grosskranbach in the Panzer 4D was severely wounded. As was Kanonier Habenicht in Baumann's 8.8cm gun. Both were the veterans of Barbarossa and will be sorely missed. So, what did we learn? First, while the defensive position was on a small scale, it reflected German defensive doctrine. Anti-tank guns with good fields of fire, screened by entrenched infantry out in front, indirect fire support to the rear, tanks in hull-down positions, and a counter-attack force ready to pounce once the enemy attack culminates. The result? 5 medium and heavy Russian tanks knocked out and their attack defeated with heavy casualties in return for 2 wounded and a damaged tank. The doctrine works. Second, the enemy, or at least the AI, seemed to be learning. This Russian attack, concentrating massed tanks on a narrow front at a weak point in the German line, was the best I've seen yet. There was a point in the battle when I genuinely thought the Russian tanks would overrun the German position. Third, some good fortune. I expected the 8.8cm guns on the hill would be badly mauled by the Russian mortars, but their fire was weaker than expected. I attribute this to 3 factors. The gunners spent most of their time hidden when not engaging the enemy, making them harder to spot. Whenever they were spotted, the spotting unit was swiftly destroyed and unable to direct accurate fire. And let's not forget the element of good luck, never to be discounted. If Russian mortars had knocked out the German guns, this battle would have ended very differently. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.